Hello, welcome, or welcome back. Glad to have you again. Today we're going to be reading at Canaan, the third reading, which talks about God's sanctuary cities. What were these sanctuary cities, and why did Hakadosh Baruch Hu see a need for such cities? Was there really that many murderers? Was there really that much crime that they needed sanctuary cities? And how did they operate? How did they function? Stay tuned and find out the details. Yesterday, in recap, we found Moses recalling the events at Mount Sinai, and he stresses the importance of the Torah commandments. It's at this point that he finally comes to terms with the fact that he will not be going into the promised land. And that's there we would pick up in Vet Canaan, the third reading, which is Deuteronomy 4:41 through 4:49, and we pick up here at Deuteronomy, or Devarim, 4:41. It was then, after he understood that God was not going to allow him to cross over into the land of Israel, that Moses decided to designate three cities on the side of the Jordan River that is toward the direction of the sunrise to the east, so that a murderer might flee there, provided that he murders his fellow man inadvertently, not having hated him in the past and not having premeditated the murder. He may flee to one of these cities in order that he may live. Now I want to turn to Numbers 35 and 9 to find some details on this because it expounds it a lot more in 5 and 9. I'm not going to read too much into this because it really in Numbers 35 9, beginning at 9, it really goes into a lot of detail about the cities, what kind of crimes they were, what they were supposed to do, and we'll cover that back when we come back around to Masay and that reading in Numbers. But I just want to read this little part. It says, God now gave Moses the laws of the cities of refuge. He spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you cross the Jordan River into Canaan, you must designate 6 cities for yourselves that will serve as cities of refuge for you. A murderer who killed a person unintentionally, but nonetheless is guilty of negligence, must flee there from the close relative of the murdered person, who in such a case is allowed to avenge the victim's death, as will be explained presently. These cities must serve you as a refuge for an unintentional murderer from his avenger, so that the unintentional murderer not die until he stands in judgment before the congregation's judges. The cities that you provide will function as cities of refuge only when all 6 cities of refuge have been designated for you. Thus, even though Moses later, or in the text we're reading today, designated 3 cities in Transjordan as cities of refuge, they did not begin to function as refuge cities until the 3 in Canaan were also designated. God foresaw that there would be a similar number of incidences of unintentional murder on both sides of the Jordan River, even though only 2.5 of the 12 tribes settled on the east side. So he told Moses to tell the people, you must provide 3 of these cities in Transjordan, or the other side of Jordan, the east side of Jordan, and 3 of the cities in Canaan to serve as cities of refuge. These 6 cities will provide refuge for both the Israelites and for the convert and resident alien among them, so that anyone who unintentionally kills a person can flee there. Just a quick note, because I'm always seeing um, about the one law. There's one law for the Jew and for the Ger who dwells among you. Okay, so just real quick here, it says this is for the Israelites, the natural born Israelites, those who converted and became part of the Jewish people, and the resident alien or the Noahide which dwells among them. So those are people that are in the process of becoming Jewish and living amongst the people. Some decided not to fulfill that goal, but anyway, it mentions those 3 categories of people there. So it's for all of Israel, no matter how they reach in there. I want to turn back to Deuteronomy 4:43. Excuse me. Deuteronomy 4:43, the cities that Moses designated were Betzer in the desert, in the plain country of the tribe of Reuben, Ramoth and Gilead, the territory of the tribe of Gad, and Golan and Bashan, the territory of the tribe of Manasseh. Remember that we had the kings Sihon and Og that they battled and they defeated them. So that land on the east side of Jordan was divvied up between Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. So they had Betzer, which is in the desert in the plain country, which went to Reuben. That was designated as a city of refuge. Ramoth and Gilead, the territory of the tribe of Gad, that one is a city of refuge. And then Golan and Bashan. Now remember, Bashan is where King Og was, and King Og was a giant. It was very big. We spent some time in a couple Torah portions, Torah readings ago, discussing King Og and how big he might have been. If you missed any of that, I'll link it at the end of this video, and we talked about his bed and how big that bed might have been. So I will link that up at the end here. If you missed any of King Og, where the section where the Golan in Bashan was from, which went to the tribe of Manasseh. Verse 44, the following is the corpus of instruction that Moses now set before the Israelites. These teachings are the very same testimonies, rules, and ordinances that Moses spoke to the Israelites when they went out of Egypt at Mount Sinai. But he reviewed them now when the people were camped on the east side of the Jordan River in the valley opposite Bet Peor. In the land they had conquered from King Sihon of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and whom Moses and the Israelites smote after they went out of Egypt. They took possession of his land, as well as the land of King Og of the Bashan, all the lands of the two kings of the Amorites, who were on the side of Jordan River towards the east, the direction of the sunrise. From their southern border at Aroer, which is on the edge of the Arnon Gorge, northward up to Mount Sion, which is Mount Hermon, and the entire plain located across Jordan eastward, southward as far as the Sea of the Plain, the Dead Sea, and the land further southward, along the foot of the waterfalls, descending from the peak of Mount Nebo. There's been several instances where we read about Mount Nebo. I've never been don't know, whoops. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know why that keeps kicking off on me. I'll get it fixed. I've never been to the Holy Land. I don't know what Mount Nebo looks like. It must be spectacular. I'd love to see waterfalls coming off the top of Mount Nebo. Maybe I'll do a little bit of research and find some pictures, and I'll just do a little snippet video of Mount Nebo and what that might have looked like, just as a tidbit. And maybe I'll find some pictures and add that in. But this concludes our third reading of Vat Canaan, which was Deuteronomy 4:41 through 4:49. You don't want to miss tomorrow. As we're mentioning here, it's been building up over the past few readings. Moshe is fixing to re-give the Ten Commandments, and we're going to see that tomorrow. So join us tomorrow if you want to hear and find out about the re-giving of the Ten Commandments. Which brings us to the close of this video. Let me say again, you know the thing. You know the thing. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And like I always say, if you liked the video, and I hope that you did, please share it with somebody that you think might find this interesting. And if you liked it enough to share, please subscribe so that you don't miss another video. If you missed the video again about King Og and his bed, I'm going to link that somewhere right up here. And if you missed any of Vet Canaan so far, I will link what's on the playlist so far up here. And somewhere on the screen will be a link that you can subscribe if you would wish to. So thank you for your time. God bless. Have a nice day.